Hi everyone and welcome to my studio. This is so exciting. My name is Gideon and I'm also known as Gideonslight, and I'm here to be your creatively fit coach. So grab your canvas, grab your paints and your art journal and join me in my studio as I show you how profound it can be in your life if you allow some space to be creative. So join me now as I show you how. Hello everybody, it is me Gideon, also known as Gideonslight. Welcome to my studio. Unfortunately, this afternoon in South Africa we are on stage 6 load shedding. So that unfortunately means that at this hour I would have presented this live. I do not have electricity or Wi-Fi. But that will not stop me. So I'm just recording this session like I would have during the live. And then I'll just upload this when we have power and Wi-Fi restored. So how was your first week of your creative jump start? I mean, really, this is such an exciting opportunity for you to get started and get going on your creative practice. So I hope that you've taken some time this week maybe to think of where you can allocate yourself some space in your home where you can practice your creative practice. And I decided to also then just mention, even though I do have a whole room for a studio, I am just using this basically meter by meter space on my wall. And what I've done is I've taped some watercolor paper and actually the cover of the watercolor paper pad to the wall, and I'm working on this paper. And this can also be something that you can do. I'm just quickly going to turn my camera just a little bit, hopefully you'll be able to follow me. So I just wanted to show you my easel as well. I've got a big canvas on here, and you could also stick your pages on there and work on that as well. So that would also be an option for you. So give me a second, let me just make sure that my camera is aligned onto the work we will be doing today. Yes, that looks great. Okay. So I took last week's exercises off the wall, and now I can show you more tactile. This is the end product of my first week exercise. My page tore a little bit there, but you know what, that's all going to become part of the character of this little exercise. And you can obviously then, when we get to the stage where we will be making our little booklets, we will use the back side of the page as well, maybe for another exercise that will strengthen the paper even more. And this is the second page, and I even wrote the colors names in white pen on there, and I also gave it a coat of clear matte medium just to seal it all and also strengthen the paper. So that is just a good tip I can give you, and it really just brings out the color. So later when we use it as collage paper, it's so much easier to stick other elements to it or to paint on it again. And then this is my little collage abstract that I made with the circles, where I literally cut up the previous used palette into little circles, and then the circle shapes are cut in half again, and that created like little contrasting spheres, and it is quite fun. So you can see how this random little play of color created this fun page that will go in our art book. Now this is also being given a layer of clear matte medium so that everything is integrated rather well. So for today's creative jumpstart exercise, I've again prepared 3 pages. The third page for today, I've actually stuck to my palette and I've already dispensed the colors that I'll be using for today's exercise. So the prompt for you this week is to pull out your oranges and your blues and then to create different shades. See what different shades you can mix by adding white and grey to your colors. Now this is a pre-mixed grey color from Montmartre, but if you don't have something fancy like that, you can just use a lot of white with a little bit of black mixed to it and you can create a mid-tone grey. When you use greys to mix it with your colors, you create tones of that color, and that can also be an interesting light bulb moment when you realize you can manipulate what brightness and intensity your color has by using white to brighten things up and to lighten them, gray to give you a different tone of the same kind of color, and then black you discovered last week to give you a shade color. So today we're going to be playing with oranges. So pull out your oranges, all the oranges you have, and do this experiment with it, and all your blues. But to keep it simple for this video, I've just chosen a beautiful orange, cadmium medium hue, and a bright neon orange. I've got turquoise here and I've got cobalt blue, titanium white and grey. That's what I'll be using for this exercise today. So I've dispensed the paint onto the third page that I've prepared for the exercise so that it can become my palette. I just find that the paper sticks a little bit better to paper and other acrylics rather than this plasticky, waxy kind of palette sheets. I tend to want to resist the glue. So that's just a little tip for you. I'm also going to be just using my bucket of water that I've got here, and I've got a very small square flat brush. Now on your pages, your prompt or idea for the week is to divide the page into square shapes and then to try and keep changing a square into 4 more smaller tiles or squares and again, so that there's a variety of size in shape and a nice interesting connection line that I did here with my ruler. So it's vertical and horizontal lines giving me different tile shaped squares that I'm going to be filling in with these beautiful oranges and blues. I did the same on the second page, just because I think 2 pages is giving you a nice foundation to play with. You can jump between the 2 pages during the week. Take 10 minutes every day and just do 1 tile, do 4 tiles, or do the whole exercise depending on how much time you have available for you. So I think for today, as we explore some of these creative jumpstart ideas, I'm going to jump right in and begin to play with my paint this week, and then spend a little bit more time discussing some ideas with you at the end of this video. So I'm going to jump right in with my little square brush and my turquoise paint and just load it up, and I'm just going to randomly pick one of these squares. So this is also a mindful exercise because you want to try and paint as neat and tidy as you can without becoming overly critical of how neat and tidy it is. I mean, if you go over the line, it's not a big end of the world deal because you can always just come over and paint on it again. But it is an exercise to give you a little bit of brush control, so that you can see if you use a square brush like this, you can create rather neat edges if you just focus on that square tip edge that the brush gives you. And I'm just filling this little square as opaquely as I can. And here's the fun of the colors that you paint over onto the backing paper is later this becomes a nice interesting background that you can create something on as well. So we don't throw anything away. You can see how exciting this tape is already that we used in last week's exercise, and I'm keeping it here for when I need it for another exercise or for when I want to clean my brush. because I can always come and add a little bit more interesting color to this, which will become later as washi tape. So I just keep that in that little space. Right. So now that I've got one turquoise in its pure hue there, let's see what will happen if I mix the same turquoise with a little bit of grey. So I'm going to pick up some grey here and bring it to the side of the turquoise, and I'm going to integrate the grey with this colour. So this is a tone of turquoise, and I'm going to put it on another block. Let's try this one. So you can see it's not so vibrant anymore. It's toned it down quite a bit, but you can still see that it's related to the turquoise. Maybe a little bit more dusty or powdery, and a little bit deeper, a little bit flatter, but that's exciting. So now we already see one difference in this one color that we're playing with. What would happen if I don't mix my brush and I come into my cobalt blue and I add a little bit of cobalt blue to this color? So this is where we're going to discover what happens when we mix a few different tones together. I'm going to jump to a different square and put that color down. It's quite a nice dusty blue. Quite like that. And like I say, if you go over the line, it's no biggie. Right. I'm not even going to rinse my brush out, and I'm going to come and just use some pure blue, a little bit more. So it's a little bit more towards the cobalt blue side, but it's already still a changed color because there's literally 3 colors in here already. Just going to mix it nicer. And let's do one broad one here. So the whole idea is that you spend 10 minutes every day in your creative practice and complete one of these tiles for how many minutes ever you want to allocate to yourself. If you only have an hour a week, then take an hour a week, and you will be able to complete this whole exercise within an hour. But really, there should be no rush. You can just enjoy being creative and seeing what the paint does. Let's rinse off. You can even jump to a different brush if you want to. Let me just see what I have here. I'm going to use this brush, and I want to jump to the orange side. So I'm just going to activate my brush with clean water. And let's get a square filled with a spear orange. Where shall we do that? Let's do a little block here. So you can see a bigger brush makes a quicker job of a little tile. And that's interesting. Let's add a little bit of white to this and see what happens to this color. Now, from last week's exercise, we've learned that it will brighten and lighten the color. So let's put this here. That's fun. So we are already beginning to see variety in our color. I'm gonna go into my bright neon colored orange here. I didn't rinse my brush. Created a different orange. Let's put it next to this turquoise, and I'm going to concentrate to try and make a neat line there. I'm going to flip my brush over. That's cool. 1, 2, 3. That is done. Let's see what happens when we add a bit of grey to this color. that makes a very nice, interesting, like brownish beige. Let's see, let's make this big square tile this color. How exciting. I really want to encourage you guys to take photographs of your exercises and to share it with us on the Creative Heart group. That is why we have that awesome community there to support you and to inspire each other by being willing to share our work with each other. So I'm going to just go to this grey. There's some of that orange left on there, and I'm just going to really mix in a little bit that's left on my brush. I didn't rinse it yet with just a lot of grey, so I grayed it down even more. And let's add one of them here. So there's a lot of little things that we realize when we do little exercises like this. Is first of all, we experiment with creating color and mixing color and seeing what is possible. And also we begin to see when we play with a harmonious color scheme, in this case it's a contrasting color scheme, we can see how it works when we intermix these shades with each other and what beautiful neutral tones you can mix by using two opposing colors or contrasting colors. In this case, blue and orange is opposite on the color wheel. Let me just grab my color wheel here for those of you who does not have a color wheel. If you look at the color wheel, you can see the orange is up here and directly across from it is blue. So that's how you know that that is a contrasting color scheme. And because they are on opposite spectrums of the color wheel, they make each other look more vibrant. If you look at these very clean hue squares that we did, the turquoise and the orange, you can see how vibrant it is. And it becomes to look even more vibrant when you surround it with neutrals and more natural tones. So I'm going to rinse my brush because I want to demonstrate this contrasting theory a little bit to you. So I'm going to load a little bit of the cobalt blue, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pick up some orange and mix the two together. Let's see what happens. Ooh, that's like a rusty kind of deep chocolatey kind of color. Who knew? So you create a beautiful brown by mixing two opposite colors together. Let's place this brown next to this orange here and see how it still matches, because it is made of this orange that is next to it and a blue. And I like to open up the paint like this with the whiter background so you can really appreciate this color when it dries. What would happen if I added some white to this? Let's do that. Let's add some white to this. And it makes it a brighter, almost like a caramelly color. Let's add a bit more white. Ooh, that looks yummy. Let's put it up here. That's a very nice color. Awesome. And so you continue to play with the paint that you've set out for yourself. You can mix an even lighter shade and maybe add a bit more blue to it. Let's see what happens when we add more blue to it. So it becomes a little bit more grayed out. Let's add a bit more white. You can also learn while you're doing this that how much white it takes to really lighten a shade. It's almost easier to take just a little bit of a color to the white if you really want to lighten it quite a bit. Let's do this big square here. Seeing that I've mixed so much of this taupey color. And still I try to focus with my brush to fill this square as neatly and accurately as I can by using the brush's shape to make my job a little bit easier. That's very nice. What would happen if we add a bit of grey? Let's see. Let's add a bit of grey and let's add a little bit more blue. Quite a bit of blue. And it makes this blue-grey, like army navy color. Let's fill this block. Wow, that's nice. And also because the color is not thoroughly mixed, you're seeing some different values or hues of the color glimmering through there, which makes it very interesting. So you get the gist of this week's exercise. The idea is to play with contrasting colors, with white and with gray, to mix different tones and values of the two colors and to see what happens when you mix the two contrasting colors together. What are the kind of colors that you can produce from this color family? So go ahead, get your art supplies out and fill 2 pages or so with these lovely squares or tiles and see what you can create. And the whole idea behind the exercise is to learn how to mix these colors together and to see what happens. It's experimental. So you're really getting to know this color family and the range and variety of shades and values and tones that you can mix by adding a white or a grey or the complementaries together. So there is another few questions or something that I wanted to just share with you guys with regards to this creative practice, and it helps to ask the right questions to help you to commit to having a few minutes set aside every day and to get this creative practice going. It is said that it takes a creative habit, or to create a new habit rather. It takes 21 times to repeat something. If you do something 21 times, that's 7 times 7, no, 7 plus 7 plus 7. No, it's 3 times 7. Then you get 21. And when you repeat a habit 21 times, you form a habit and it becomes part of your lifestyle. So it changes your behavior. So try to have a creative practice for 21 consecutive days. Then you would have formed a new habit that is easier to go to than if you only do it once a month. So to help you to get started, ask yourself the following questions. You can write these answers in your art journal or contemplate them as you go through this jumpstart. So here are a few questions. I will also copy and share them into this event so that you can just copy it and follow through. Number 1, what life are you imagining? Think about that. If you daydream about your life and you allow yourself just to daydream, what does that life look like? I want you to spend a few minutes to try and capture some of the essences of what it is that makes it so beautiful and attractive for you. Number 2, what gets in the way for you? What prevents you from having a creative practice? So every week you have this intention to start, but at the end of the week when you look back you realize you didn't get to it. What was your stumbling blocks? What was the things that prevented you from actually getting into your creative practice? You need to identify this, because these things are the things that sabotage you or that you allow to sabotage you in order for you not to get into it. Number 3, what struggles do you grapple with as an artist? Is it time? Is it money? Is it resources? Is it inspiration? Is it technique? Is it a message, the big why that you create? Is it the medium? Go a little bit deeper and see what are the things that you are struggling with, and how can we help you to address those so that you can become stronger in this area. Number 4, reflect on your biggest frustrations on your artist journey and think about your big why for creating. So if you're frustrated in your artistic journey, sometimes it is because you lost sight of your own true north, the reason behind your creation. And if you have fulfilled a certain why, maybe it's time to go inward and find a new why. The reason for you taking up this creative practice is first and foremost, just as an example, to get to know your art supplies and to begin to excel as an artist and to have a focus to have in your creative practice. So by giving you a prompt and showing you an exercise, it gives you something, a catalyst to get going. Because you might get to your studio and say, I'm not in the mood for squares, I'm going to do circles. Whatever the case may be, I don't really care because it's your creative practice. I'm just showing you what is possible and hopefully sparking some inspiration and ideas to try it out for yourself and see where it leads you, because it is the whole point of this all, a catalyst, a jump start. Number 5, what drives you to have a creative practice, or what is this yearning you have inside of you that you need to call, that call that you need to answer within you, and that is why you're drawn to art supplies and to art supply stores and to craft fairs and art galleries. All of these things, there's a call and you need to answer that. So what drives you? Number 6, what motivates you? What gets you going? Because if you tap into what motivates you and what gets you going every day, if you find that meaning and purpose behind this whole call to your creative practice or as an artist, then that is what you need to tap into to keep going, to have persistence and to follow through and to make this commitment and to show up ready to engage. So that is a good question to ask. And number 7, what kind of experience or transformation do you desire? That's a deep one. What kind of experience or transformation do you desire? Because you can basically completely manifest that at the canvas. You can address issues, you can transform emotional, attitudinal, knots in your life. You can figure it out through working it out in the canvas. And or a good example, you might suffer from anxiety or depression, and going into a creative practice brings alleviation of those symptoms, because for once you're not focusing on what you are feeling or experiencing in that way, because this exercise grounds you and brings you into the present moment. What happens is you start to focus more on the experiential practicality of the exercise rather on the anxiety or the fear or the worry. So it gives your left brain a break, time to stop worrying and focus on creating. And that's a whole shift in vibration. So that is extremely powerful to transform a negative emotion into a positive one, or to raise your vibration. And then the last question, number 8, what do you want your life to look like as a creator? If you accept the point of view, even just for this argument's sake, that you are a creator, you are an artist, what would that life look like? And what calls you in that? What attracts you to that? Explore that a little bit deeper, because within these questions lies a lot of aha moments for you that will help to unlock your creative practice and your motivation for getting into it and persisting through with it. And then last but not least, I did want to say this. Having a creative practice is also not something that you should torture yourself with, in the sense of You know, we all have this intention to spend 10 to 15 minutes every day in the studio, but we all know that life happens when we make other plans, right? I mean, today's live is a good example. I've planned this event, but life is preventing me from following through in the way that it would have gone down. But my persistence and my motivation, my authenticity, and my commitment to this 5 weeks shows then up in a solution. I found another way in order to bring this information to you, and I circumvent the obstacle that life presented me with, and I use it rather than as a stepping stone and continuing to work on my goal and my dream. So that is a good example of how we need to be flexible, because sometimes weeks can go by and it's not because you have no intention of getting into your creative practice, it's just life is happening. So then don't chastise yourself every day saying, oh, another day is gone that I didn't get into my studio. Rather, you know, pull a receipt closer and doodle on it while you're waiting to pick up the kids at school, because that too counts, you know. So find the little spaces and the little zones, the little voids that life offers you, and make full use of it. Minute by minute, it adds to the container of having a creative practice. But then when life calms down and you are able then to exert control again over your environment and your time, make sure that you take the time to get into your art studio or in your creative practice, because it is so beneficial for you. So I want you to really digest these questions this week as you play with this exercise. And then the last part of this week's collage exercise is then on your final page. I want you to use your palette paper like we did last week and go on this back of it, and I want you to draw different shaped squares again, just freehand, big ones, smaller ones, little ones, medium ones, whatever shape or size you want, but try to focus on square shapes this week. And then when you've drawn them on there, cut them out, and then on a clean page that you've prepared, like I did with the circles, play with the squares, combine them in interesting ways, and make a little bit of an abstract collage artwork by using your palette. And then we will save these pages that you are filling this week, and then it will too become part of our art book by the end of this 5-week session. So I'm going to take a quick break now, pause the video, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how I'm going to create my abstract piece using my palette that I filled here with paint. So I'm going to finish this exercise and then record that for you and bring that to you as well. So I'm so excited. Please, if you have any questions, reach out to me. Make use of our creative heart group. Share photographs of your exercises. Let's get this excitement going. Let's infect each other with creative zeal. So I'm so excited to see what you guys do with last week and this week's exercise. And then again, look at our events and sign up for week number 3, which is next Sunday, when we dive into another exercise that will help at creating content that we will use in making our art books for the end of this workshop. So I'll see you guys again real soon. Bye bye for now.